So have you heard all this talk about AGI
Yeah.
lately? Artificial general intelligence. It's like everywhere you turn, right?
Yeah, it's really captured the public's attention, and there's good reason for that. We're talking about AI that's, well, not just good at one specific thing, but can learn and problem solve, kind of like how humans can, across different areas.
It's not just beating you at chess anymore. It's more about AI that could be writing the next bestseller or, I don't know, maybe even composing a symphony.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we've got some pretty amazing material, articles, predictions, all that, from some leading AI experts, people like Dario Amodei, Sam Altman, oh, and of course, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Even going back to some of Ray Kurzweil's ideas.
Yeah, I was going to bring Kurzweil,
Yeah.
the singularity and all that. But I guess the big question is, what does all this actually mean? Like for us, regular folks, what's the point of this deep dive?
Well, what we're going to do is really unpack these predictions, break them down. And hopefully by the end, we'll have a better sense of what this potential future with AGI, what it could really mean for you.
Okay, sounds good. So the first thing that jumped out at me, just looking at all this stuff, was the timelines. I mean, they're all over the place. Emmerich is saying 2026. Musk and Kurzweil are pointing to 2029. Then you've got Altman suggesting 2034.
Yeah, it's a pretty wide range. And I think it's really important to remember these are just predictions, not guarantees. Developing AGI, well, it's complicated. There are a lot of unknowns. But the point is, even with all these different timelines, these experts, they all agree that AGI isn't some far-off science fiction anymore. It's something we need to be thinking about, like now, preparing for in the next few years.
Yeah. I mean, imagine you're applying for a job in a few years, and you're not just up against other people, but you might be competing with AI. AI that can learn super fast and adapt to, like, anything. Kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, it is. It definitely highlights how much things could change. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, it's important to understand exactly what we mean when we say AGI. What makes it different from the AI we see today?
Yeah, good point. Because I feel like we hear AI all the time now for, like, everything.
Right. And most of the time, what we're talking about is what's called narrow AI. AI that's designed for a specific task, like playing chess or recommending products online, that sort of thing. But AGI, that's different. AGI would have more general intelligence. It could learn and solve problems, not just in one area, but across different domains.
So, like, it's not just a calculator that's amazing at math. It's more like, I don't know, the human brain, which can do math, but can also write poetry and understand emotions and learn new things all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And according to all this research, the stuff we're looking at, AGI could potentially do all sorts of things. Write a novel, solve some really complex scientific problem. It could even design new technologies.
Whoa. So, like, it could basically do anything a human can do?
Potentially. And maybe even more. Some experts believe AGI could actually surpass human intelligence in every area. I mean, think about the possibilities. Imagine what we could do if we could harness that kind of power. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Curing diseases,
Mhm.
solving climate change, maybe even, like, achieving world peace. I mean, it sounds pretty utopian. But I also got to admit, the whole thing kind of freaks me out a little.
Yeah, I get it. It's a powerful concept. And like anything powerful, there are risks. We have to consider things like job displacement, economic inequality. And of course, there's always the possibility of misuse, by bad actors.
Right. So it's not all sunshine and roses. There's a dark side to all this, too.
Exactly. And those aren't just hypothetical concerns. These are real issues we need to address as we develop this technology, like right now.
Okay, so we've got this potential future with AGI, and it's like this crazy mix of incredible possibilities and some serious risks. I guess the big question is, how do we navigate all that? How do we balance the excitement, the potential benefits, with the need for, well, caution and responsibility?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, I don't think anyone has all the answers yet. But one thing's for sure. We need to start having these conversations now. We need to develop ethical frameworks, regulations, all that, to make sure that AGI is developed and used for good, for the benefit of all of humanity.
Yeah, so it's not just about building the most powerful AI. It's about building it responsibly and making sure it aligns with our values as a society.
Exactly. But before we get too deep into all that, maybe we should take a step back. Look at where we are right now. Like, in terms of AGI development, are we really on the verge of a breakthrough, or is this all just hype?
Right. Good point. Is this all just, like, science fiction still, or is it actually happening?
Well, that's where things get, well, kind of interesting because there are some contradictions. Like, there's this study using what's called the simple QA benchmark, and it showed that even some of the most advanced AI models today, like GPT-4, they struggle to answer basic factual questions correctly.
Wait, really? So even the cutting edge stuff is still messing up on what we'd consider pretty simple things.
Yeah. And that kind of highlights the fact that while AI has come a long way, there's still a gap between all the hype and the reality. Achieving true AGI with its ability to understand and reason across all these different domains, well, it's still a huge challenge.
So are we getting ahead of ourselves then with all this talk about AGI being right around the corner?
Well, not necessarily. There's Amara's law. It basically says we tend to overestimate the short-term impact of new technologies, but we underestimate the long-term effects.
Hmm. Interesting. So even if AGI isn't like knocking on our door tomorrow, things are already changing.
Right. AI is becoming more and more integrated into our lives, and that's only going to continue. So we need to be prepared, even if the robots aren't, taking over just yet.
Okay, so be prepared. Got it. But maybe we should shift gears a little. We've been talking a lot about the future, but what about the present? How is AI impacting our lives right now? And what can we learn from that?
Yeah, good point. I think that's a perfect place to pick up in part two. Welcome back. So before we dive into how AI is impacting things right now, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. That tension between like all the amazing things AGI could do and then those potential downsides. It's something that comes up a lot in these expert opinions we've been looking at.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to get swept up in all the the utopian possibilities.
Sure.
But then you realize there are some serious questions we got to address. It's kind of like standing on the edge of, I don't know, some new frontier.
Yeah.
Exciting, but also a little scary.
Exactly. And one area where that tension is like really clear is in all the discussions about consciousness and creativity. Can AI actually become conscious? Can it be truly creative? Or is it always going to be limited to just like mimicking patterns it learns from human data?
Yeah, whoa. Deep thoughts. I mean, are scientists even close to figuring that stuff out?
Well, it's a big debate. Still a lot of research going on. Some experts think that consciousness is like an emergent property of complex systems. So theoretically, yeah, maybe AI could achieve it. But others argue that consciousness is like inherently tied to us being biological, that it can't be replicated in artificial systems.
So we don't really know yet.
Nope, not yet. But the fact that we're even asking these questions says a lot about how far AI has come and, how it could change our understanding of ourselves. I mean, if we create machines that can think and feel like humans, what does that even mean for being human?
Whoa. It's like AI is making us question what it means to be human.
Right. And it shows why we need more than just like computer scientists working on this. We need philosophers, ethicists, social scientists, even artists, all working together to make sure we're not just building machines, but building a future that actually works for humans.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, totally. It's not just about the tech itself.
Yeah.
It's about like the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the social stuff,
Yeah.
the ethical stuff, even the philosophical stuff.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the present. Even if true AGI is still a ways off, AI is already having a big impact on our lives in lots of ways.
Right. Like you were saying before about the job market. That's something that, well, that affects pretty much everyone, right?
Yeah, the future of work. It's one of the biggest topics when we talk about AI. And there are some pretty strong opinions out there. Like Andrew McAfee, he argues that AI can be a powerful tool for like making jobs better, creating new opportunities.
It's not necessarily about AI like stealing our jobs.
Well, McAfee sees it more as AI being an on-demand workforce, helping humans with all sorts of tasks.
Okay, interesting. But it sounds like he's pretty optimistic about it.
Yeah, he's definitely more on the optimistic side. But he also acknowledges that some jobs are being automated, even replaced by AI. And that's probably going to continue as AI gets, more advanced.
Which is where like Elon Musk comes in with his whole probably none of us will have jobs because of AI prediction. That's pretty different from McAfee's take.
Yeah, a bit more doom and gloom. And it shows how much uncertainty there is around the future of work. No one really knows what it's going to look like in, say, 10 or 20 years. But we can start preparing for those changes that are already happening.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we like stay ahead of the curve?
Well, one thing is to focus on skills that'll be valuable in an AI-powered world. Things like critical thinking, problem solving,
Yeah.
creativity, emotional intelligence, that kind of stuff. Those are harder for AI to replicate.
So it's not just about learning to code. It's about like being more human.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And being adaptable, willing to learn new things. The job market's going to keep changing, so we got to be able to change with it.
Makes sense. But it's not just about individuals, right? We got to think about what we can do as a society
Yeah.
to make sure everyone benefits from AI and that we're ready for those potential disruptions.
Definitely. Things like education and retraining programs, maybe even like a social safety net for people whose jobs are automated. And we got to keep having these conversations openly and honestly about how we want this future with AI to look.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach.
Uh.
Individual preparedness, social policies, and just a lot of talking and thinking about this whole AI thing.
Exactly. It's complicated. There's no easy answer. But the more we talk about it, the better prepared we'll be to handle, whatever comes next.
Okay, that makes sense. So we talked about jobs, but AI is impacting other stuff too, right? Like healthcare, education, even our personal lives.
Yeah, absolutely. AI is popping up everywhere and in some pretty surprising ways.
Okay, well, let's explore some of those areas then. Okay, so where were we? Oh yeah, AI popping up everywhere. So what are some of those surprising ways AI is already impacting stuff?
Well, we talked about jobs, but let's look at healthcare. That's another area where AI is making huge strides. I mean, we're already seeing it being used to analyze medical images, diagnose diseases, even develop new treatments.
Yeah, like I've heard about AI being used to spot cancer cells in mammograms and stuff. It seems like it could really like revolutionize healthcare.
It could. And it's not just about, better diagnoses and treatments. AI could also personalize healthcare, like tailoring treatments to each patient based on their genes and lifestyle.
So it's not just treating diseases, but like preventing them in the first place.
Right, more preventative, more personalized. And AI could also help with some of the bigger problems in healthcare, like access to care and the rising costs. Those AI-powered virtual assistants, they could give basic medical advice, triage patients, maybe even make healthcare more accessible to people in, like, remote areas.
That's pretty cool. So it's about making healthcare better, more efficient, and more fair for everyone. But I guess there are ethical concerns too, right? Like with any new tech.
Of course. We got to be careful about how we design and use AI in healthcare. Make sure it's responsible, ethical. We got to think about data privacy, security, make sure these AI systems aren't biased against certain groups.
Right, right. It's like that balance again, the benefits versus the risks.
Exactly. And that applies to pretty much every area where AI is being used. It's not just about the tech itself, but about how we use it, what kind of future we want to create.
Okay, so healthcare. What about some other areas? Like how's AI changing education or transportation?
Well, in education, we're seeing AI used in a bunch of ways. Personalized learning platforms, for example. They adapt to each student's pace and how they learn best.
Oh, cool. Like a personal tutor for every student.
Kind of. And there are also AI tutoring systems that give feedback in real time. And AI can even help teachers with things like grading and lesson planning.
So it's like freeing up teachers to actually, teach.
Exactly. More time for individualized instruction, student engagement, all that.
Okay, that makes sense. What about transportation? I feel like self-driving cars are the big thing everyone's talking about.
Yeah, self-driving cars are definitely getting a lot of attention. But AI can do a lot more in transportation, like optimizing traffic flow, improving public transit, even making air travel safer.
So it's not just about getting around faster, but also making transportation safer and like more eco-friendly.
Yeah, and AI can help with things like reducing traffic jams and emissions, which is good for everyone.
Okay, so education, transportation. What about our, like, personal lives? It feels like AI is everywhere now. In the apps we use, the way we shop, even how we talk to each other.
You're right. AI is woven into our daily routines, often without us even realizing it. Think about those recommendation algorithms. On Amazon, they suggest stuff you might want to buy, or Netflix recommending movies you might like.
Yeah, or even just, like, unlocking your phone with your face. That's AI too, right?
Yep. Facial recognition. AI is behind that. And it's used to tag people in photos on social media, all sorts of stuff.
It's kind of wild how AI is just, like, there.
Yeah.
All the time. But it also makes you think about, like, privacy and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Data security is a huge issue. As AI gets more powerful, we got to make sure our data is protected.
Yeah.
And we got to watch out for AI being used in ways that could be harmful
Oh,
or discriminatory.
right, right. Always got to be careful. So it seems like we keep circling back to this idea of like balancing the good and the bad, the benefits of AI, but also the risks and the need to, use it responsibly, develop it ethically, all that.
Yeah, and that's really the main takeaway here. AI is powerful. It could totally change the world in good ways and bad. It's up to us to make sure we're using it wisely.
Okay, so big responsibility then. What can we actually do to make sure that happens?
Well, I think it starts with awareness, education. The more people understand AI, the better. So they can join these conversations, advocate for responsible AI, that kind of thing.
So basically, we got to learn about this stuff. Stay informed.
Exactly. And we need to support research that puts ethics first. Transparency, accountability. Invest in AI that aligns with human values, makes the world a better place.
This has been, well, a lot to think about. We've covered so much ground, from AGI, the future of AI, to how it's already changing things now.
It has been a deep dive, for sure. Hopefully
Yeah.
it's given everyone listening something to, ponder.
Yeah. The future of AI, it's full of possibilities. Exciting and maybe a little scary. But as we move forward, we got to be smart about it, responsible, make sure AI benefits everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of AI.
And until next time, keep exploring.